1880, less than 10,000 people lived in and around the Pueblo de Los Angeles. They prospered in this fertile basin, protected by the Pacific on one side, towering mountains on the other. Only 50 miles east of Los Angeles, and rising to over 10,000 feet above sea level, is Mt Baldy, snow-covered 6 months of the year. Despite tremendous population growth to the west, man and nature easily coexist here year-round. Baldy is a lot of things to a lot of people. It's hiking in the summer and skiing in the winter. But there is a problem. There are current legislative proposals that will close this part of Southern California to alpine skiing forever, despite the fact that Baldy enjoys among the greatest annual snowfall in the region. Of course, all of this terrain is currently open to anyone strong enough to climb to it. It's about an 8-hour hike for a 10-minute ski run down. Alpine skiing here, for years, has been restricted to the very limited boundaries of the Mt. Baldy ski lifts. Yet outside those boundaries, on the northeast face of Baldy itself, there's a tremendous amount of open terrain which offers a ski experience to rival some of the best in the world. Within an hour's driving time from downtown Los Angeles, Baldy can afford this spectacular skiing at a significant energy savings for those who would otherwise be forced to drive 5 to 8 hours for anything comparable. The long season and wide variety of slopes makes Baldy appealing to skiers of all abilities. Like the summer hikers and campers, it's that search for freedom which attracts skiers to Baldy. Freedom from the smog, traffic, and congestion of the city of 10 million people nearby. It is estimated that each year over 5.5 million people visit the Angeles National Forest. The great majority use the area only during the warm summer months to hike, camp, picnic, and fish. Here, and in the adjoining Cucamonga Wilderness, you can get a good view of how our delicate environmental balances work. But these balances are more easily damaged by the summer hiker than they are by a skier on top of 20 feet of snow. As the weather cools, the forest becomes a hostile place, and a lonely quiet begins to take hold. Winter use of the Angeles forest has always been much less than at other times of the year. For the very small number of people who still enter, the health and recreational offerings are fantastic. The deep snow that settles on Baldy is more than just a vehicle for fun. It's a protective cover that shields the ground from erosion. The snow also buries the food supply for most of the animals that inhabit the high altitudes. These animals migrate from their high summer range down to the lush grass-covered terrain below. Around the turn of the century, starving gold miners in the San Gabriels completely wiped out the native bighorn herd that lived here. Then, in about 1920, a pair of Nelson bighorn sheep were reintroduced, and the herd now numbers nearly 600. Some argue that the sheep would be endangered if skiing were allowed to expand to Baldy's northeast face. But since the sheep cannot survive on Baldy while it's covered with snow, It's actually the summer activity which poses the greatest threat to the bighorn. More and more people are trying to escape the increasing smog and the tightening population squeeze. In the last 10 years, there's been a 100% increase in demand placed on Southern California ski areas. Yet no new areas have been built in the last 20 years. The population explosion threatens a sport which should be enjoyed for the freedom it offers within the hostile environment of winter. One of the answers to this search for freedom is the northeast face of Mt Baldy. These bowls offer incredible ski terrain. Skiing here is an experience which conjures up thoughts of the Swiss Alps or maybe the Canadian Rockies. Yet all of this is right here in our backyard, less than 50 miles from the center of Los Angeles. It's difficult to realize that this actually exists as close as it does. Yet now, this freedom is only available to a select few, strong enough to make the 8-hour climb, or with special permission in a helicopter at $300 an hour. This northeast face of Mt Baldy is in danger of being forever shut off to winter use. As part of the government's program to increase designated wilderness, there are several different legislative proposals being considered in Washington which would affect Mt Baldy. One would turn this spectacular terrain into a wilderness area and therefore never permit a ski operation there. Proponents of this measure claim that it is designed to protect the bighorn sheep, but by drawing their wilderness boundary line to within 15 feet of a heavily used summer hiking trail, right in the midst of the bighorn's summer territory, this claim is hardly a valid one. Another proposal would also increase the Cucamonga wilderness, but still leave the northeast face designated only as a national forest. This would allow skiers, regardless of ability or strength, to enjoy it in the winter just as backpackers do in the summer. This multiple-use proposal is supported by the Forest Service. The national effort to protect our forests and mountains through increased wilderness designations is both admirable and necessary, but parameters must be established fairly. Permitting winter recreational use can make it available to skiers as it now is to backpackers, without disruption of the summer habitat of animals like the bighorn. Other ski area proposals in Southern California at San Gregorio, Mineral King, and Trail Peak were blocked because you skiers did not show your support. Mt Baldy is your last chance. It's your responsibility to write your congressman and open the northeast face of Baldy to year-round recreational use. Whether or not you ever ski here is up to you.